Well, all right. Welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Bertolino here in the world famous As It Should Be studios. Yeah, well, today I am doing a track versus track. It's a 1981 track versus track. And two classic 1981 albums are going to be going against each other. And I have the Kinks with Give the People What They Want against the Rolling Stones, Tattoo You. Both albums came out in August of 1981. And I have both albums. I don't have them here. They're in the world famous As Should Be archives, like yada yada yada. But I have all these 1981 albums here, so they're here in place. So pop-ups, but and both these albums, man, the Kinks and the Stones albums, I was really into both these albums at the time. In the early '80s, huge fan of Give the People What They Want and Tattoo You. Oh my God! Now, obviously, Tattoo You was a way bigger album. Way bigger. Now, Give the People What They Want was a popular album. It had hit, Predictable, Destroyer. The Kinks were kind of back on the map at this point, but I mean, not even remotely like Tattoo You. It's not even funny. And anyway, well, let's see how they stack up in a track versus track. Now, I have, as usual, ranked the tracks. Both albums have 11 tracks, so there are no leftover tracks at the end. Everything has something it's going up against. And get the tally sheet going. Kinks 81. Stones 81. All right. Keep it here. All right. Okay. All right, let's get with it. So coming in number 11 on the Kinks album, what I have ranked all the way at the bottom, Yo-Yo. Yeah, Yo-Yo. That's the second track on side 2. I have never liked this song. This has always been like a straight-up skipper for me. When I was first listening to this record, and when I was listening to it a lot in the early 80s, it was, it was a little bit of a spotty album. I had certain songs that I didn't like, and I would skip over them. This was one. A lot of times when that happens, when I get older, I learn to really like those songs, and sometimes they become my favorite songs on the album. Not this time. Yo-Yo, still at the bottom. Terrible track. Well, that goes up against what I have all the way down to the bottom at number 11 on the Stones album, Black Limousine. Black Limousine is like it's a good classic sort of Stones blues song. Kind of harkens back to the early Stones blues vibes. I like the song. Actually, I have to say, I think the bottom end of the Stones album is probably a little bit stronger than the bottom end of the Kinks album. Not to give too much away here, but you know what? I'm giving that to the Stones easily. Now, I will tell you what. I'm going to tell you right here and now. I'm a way bigger Kinks fan. Way bigger Kinks fan than I am a Stones fan. But, yeah. Black Limousine over Yo-Yo with ease. Okay, so coming in number 10 on the Kinks album, Art Lover. Okay, now this song. Now, this is definitely a song that I hated when I was a kid. Yeah, well, this album came out when I was 11, so I'm like 11, 12, 13 when I'm listening to a lot of it, listening to it a lot, and I hated this song. Come to daddy. I was kind of into the more hard rock vibes of this album, and that was just sort of like, and I liked the 60s Kinks, which had a tendency to be really, kind of fey and sort of, maybe a little ding 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 ding, but Art Lover, I was just like, ugh. The lyrics were kind of, too, there was that. But the funny thing is it wasn't until much, much, much later that I finally dug into the lyrics of this song and went, okay, what is this actually about? Because it seems a little weird, what's this come to daddy shit? It seems a little, Well, it turns out no. I actually read the lyrics, and at first it's kind of like, but then it gets to a point where there's a line in the song, and let me pull it up here. There's a line in the song, if I can find it. She's just a substitute for what's been taken from me. And when he gets to that line, that's when I realized, oh, this is somebody who has lost their daughter in some capacity, either death or a divorce, in some capacity, this is somebody who has lost their daughter and is looking at little girls in the park in sort of a longing for his own child sort of way. And I went and I thought, okay, yeah, that made sense. And then I looked it up, and there was an interview with Ray Davies where he said, well, yeah, I used to go jogging in the park a lot, and I would see, guys who would be out, having their sort of, weekend visit with their children, their little kids. And I would just see this around me, and it just inspired me to write this song. And so his thinking is like, it's from the perspective of some poor deadbeat dad or whatever, or, just some guy who has lost the ability to be with his child, or with his little girl, I guess, in this case, all the time, Anyway, so I'm going on a lot about this song. I guess the reason why is because I just really, that song always seemed a little weird, and I looked it up. And of course, what happens, then you also come across posts on the internet where people are like losing their mind over this song and being like, oh my god. And there was one guy who did a little blow-by-blow, some guy from Paste Magazine, a little blow-by-blow from all the lines, and sat there and just like commented on the whole thing, being really smug and thinking he's being really clever. And in the end, he went and looked up what the song was about, and he still in the end decided that he was right, that it's still creepy, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, you know what, man, some people just want to be offended. He wants to believe the worst of the song. No matter what you tell him, he wants to believe the worst, and so he's going to. And he wants to be morally superior. You can't take that away from him. Sorry, that was a rant. What is our lover going up against? Sorry, but all right. So that goes up against what I have at number 10 on Tattoo You. No use crying. No use in crying. And now Our Lover, like I said, I used to hate that song. And then I listened to it again about a couple of years ago for the first time in a long time, in years and years. And I really liked it. I was like, oh man, now I really like this song. Well, I listened to it again kind of recently, and again I was like, I don't like this. Like I got back to not liking it, which is why I put it all the way down to number 10. No Use in Crying, I really like. So that's the Stones. Stones get that again. Yeah, so I know it's an awfully long diatribe I went on about Art Lover just to not give it to that song, but okay. Let's move along here. What I have coming in at number 9 on the Kinks album is A Little Bit of Abuse. And that goes up against what I have at number 9 on the Stones album, which is Neighbors! Yeah, Neighbors. Which is one of the few, I think Neighbors, and I forget what else, was one of the few actual new songs on this album, because as everybody knows now, Tattoo You is sort of like a compilation of unreleased tracks, or tracks that were unreleased and unfinished. They actually finished them and put this album out. I think Neighbors was one of the new songs. And I liked this one a lot more in 1981, 81, 82, when I was 11, 12. Neighbors was awesome. Neighbors! And I never liked A Little Bit of Abuse that much. Yeah, I never liked it much. And going back to it recently, it's okay. It's okay. You know what? I'm giving that to the Stones. Wow. Stones are wiping the floor here. Okay, well, coming in number 8 on the Kinks, I have Predictable. That's the word of the year. Yeah, Predictable, which is one of the, well, probably the biggest single on that. There was an MTV video, and that goes up against what I have at number 8 on the Stones, which is Tops. Yes, that's right. Mick's not going to be singing about any bottoms, he's singing about the tops. That's right. All right, well, Tops. Now, I remember, I think Tops is the first album track I ever heard from Tattoo You. Because when that record came out, of course, you couldn't avoid Start Me Up and Hang Fire. The singles were out. And, I don't even remember how many of the singles were out at this point, but, so I remember being in the car with my stepdad, my then stepdad, and he had the record, he had a tape of the record, and he put the cassette in, and I don't know, or maybe the tape was already in the deck. All I know is that when he put it on, the first song that played was Tops. So that's probably where he had left the tape, like he had stopped it just short of that. So that's the first song I heard, so I thought that was the first song on the album. So until I got this record, I thought Tops was the opening track, and I really loved it. That was one of my very favorite songs on this album at that time. I have it number 8 now. I still like it, but I don't love it like I did back then. The lyrics are kind of cringy and kind of a little cliche and kind of dorky. Melodically, I really like it, as far as the sound and the atmosphere of the song. Yeah, and again, melodically, I really like it. The lyrics are kind of cringe and kind of cliche. But I'm still giving it to that. Yeah, Predictable's great. I mean, I always really liked Predictable, but the thing about Predictable, it's a very, very successful song in terms of writing. And what I mean by that is that he's trying to convey boredom and, same old kind of, caught in a rut kind of vibes. And he's really successful at that. Like, the song is a little kind of, it's kind of draggy because he was so good at conveying the lyrics. And yeah, so even though I like it, I like Tops more. Okay, so coming in number 7 on the Kinks album, I have the title track, Give the People What They Want. Give the people what they want. Yeah. Getting into the guitar rock now, which was I really loved in the early 80s. And that goes up against what I have at number 7 on the Stones album, which is Slave. Yeah, the third song on side 1. Do it! Don't wanna be your slave! Don't wanna be your slave! Yeah, Slave's awesome. Now, Slave isn't much of a song. It's really just kind of a groove and just kind of a hook over and over again. But but I like it. Like, it's a good fun track. I like it. It's a good groove. It's like I really like it. I like the vibe of it. Give the people what they want. Really great, sort of riffy guitar rock song, but still not getting into my favorites on that album. And I've always liked Slave, I think, a little bit more. Yeah. I actually like Slave more than Give the People What They Want. So yeah, the Stones have got 5 so far, and the Kinks 0. Okay, well, number 6, coming in number 6 on the Kinks album, Add It Up. And the last song on side 1, right? Add It Up. Yeah, it's a total, it's kind of like almost kind of a new wavy kind of guitar rock song. It's a very, very, very of its time track. Like that track, I really like Add It Up, but it's definitely of that moment in time. And in fact, the opening track, or the opening guitar lick, is very similar to the opening of White Wedding, Billy Idol's White Wedding. Now, the Kinks track came out first. The Kinks track came out in 81. White Wedding came out in 82. And it's not exactly the same thing. It's like the Add It Up is like I don't know what the exact notes are, but they're not playing the exact same notes, and it's like a bit higher up on the neck. So it's a very reminiscent kind of arpeggio guitar lick. It's not the exact same thing. It just reminds me of White Wedding. And Chrissie Hynde does backing vocals on it, when they go Gucci, 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 Cartier. That's Chrissie Hynde in there. All right, and that goes against what I have at number 6 on the Stones album, which is Little T&A. Yeah, the Keith Richards track. That one I always liked. Always liked that one. I liked it then, like it now. Great. But I'm finally giving one to the Kinks. Yeah, Add It Up. Yeah, I love Little T&A, but I like Add It Up a little bit more. Okay. I need a drink. If I can get one. I have tea, I have. Appropriately, since we're discussing the Kinks and the Stones, I've got tea, have I? Yeah. All right. Okay, so now the top 5 of these albums. Now, coming in number 5 on the Kinks album, I have Back to Front, which is that's the third track on side 2, right? Ba-da-da, 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 just going back where I came from. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, this was always one of my favorites on the album. I especially love. Well, I still love this. This is one of. I find with this album, my favorites and least favorites kind of remain the same. The ones that I loved then, I still love. The ones I didn't like then, I still don't like. Yeah, Back to Front's great. That goes up against what I have at number 5 on Tattoo You, which is Worried About You. The opening track on side 2. Oh, baby! Yeah. Where Mick is just trying desperately to be Prince. Yeah. Well, that was the Tattoo You tour, I believe, right? Where Prince opened up for the Stones, because Mick was really a big fan. I think they all kind of were. And that was when, it was on the Controversy tour. And the Tattoo You tour, and Prince was opening for the Stones, and of course they got booed because it was all these rock dudes going, you know. Anyway, Prince had the last laugh there, huh? But all right, yeah, all you people who booed Prince at the Tattoo You shows and threw shit, you guys are now bragging that you saw him at that show. But anyway, Back to Front against Worried About You. Now, Worried About You is a track I actually really didn't like back then. It didn't. Yeah. Now the Stones record is a little different. Like, stuff that I didn't like as much then has risen a bit, and stuff I liked more has dropped a bit. Worried About You is probably the best example of a track that has risen greatly over the years. I really think this is a great track now. I had to get old enough to appreciate this one, I think. You know, I really love the electric piano at the beginning when he's doing his Prince bit at the beginning. Love it. Great. And I love the baby. In fact, I'm giving that to the Stones. Yeah. I'm giving that to Worried About You over Back to Front. At the time, in 81, believe me, Back to Front would have taken that with the greatest of ease, but not anymore. Okay, so coming to number 4 on the Kinks album, I have Killer's Eyes. Those killer's eyes. Actually, you know what? I think, Killer's Eyes is... Well, I always liked Killer's Eyes, but I think this actually is one that has risen for me. I think I like this one a little bit more than I did then. And, well, that goes against what I have number 4 on the Stones album, which is Heaven. Heaven. That's track 3 on side 2. There are a lot of tracks like this on Tattoo You. Tracks that are like Heaven and Slave. And maybe there's only 2, but where it's just kind of a groove with they're not really songs, they're just sort of grooves with a repeated vocal bit that's just sort of, repeated. But Heaven is masterful in creating a vibe, a sound, an atmosphere, and I've always loved it. I've always loved this one. But I'm giving that to the Kinks. I'm giving that to Killer's Eyes. As much as I really love Heaven, and I think there may have been a time when I may have given that to Heaven, but Killer's Eyes is obviously a better song. And, yeah. Anyway. Okay, alright, so coming to number 3 on the Kinks album, I have the closing track, Better Things. Yeah, Better Things. One of the Kinks' best 80s tracks, I think. Such a great one. I mean, I could easily hear that being a 60s Kinks song. Obviously, the production here, is very, very 1981. But as a composition, I could easily hear that being an earlier Kinks song, and it's a great one. That goes against what I have at number 3 on Stones, which is Hang Fire. Hang Fire. Yeah. Proud of wow, baby. Hang Fire. And Hang Fire. God, you know what? I may have ranked these. I almost feel like I like Heaven more than Hang Fire, but whatever. We got to go with this. Okay, all right. Hang Fire against Better Things. You know what? Kinks, Better Things, easily. Hang Fire's great. It's gotten a bit played out over the years. It was one of those big radio hits that we heard 1,000 times on the radio. But it's a great song. But I think Better Things is better. And all right, so it's coming in at number 2 on the Kinks album. Opening track, Around the Dial. Yeah, ooh. This is a good one. Always has been one of my favorites on this album. And that goes against what take 2. That goes up against what I have at number 2 on the Stones album, Start Me Up, the opening track on that album. Now, I had the toughest time trying to figure out where to put Start Me Up in this ranking. You talk about a song that's really great, but you don't ever want to listen to again. You know, we talk about this all the time. What, you know, Stairway to Heaven, you have Freebird, you have fucking Bohemian Rhapsody, Imagine. Honestly, Start Me Up may be at the top of that list. You want to talk about a song that was bludgeoned to death on the radio at the time. Anybody who wasn't there in 1981, I'm telling you, I'm sure you already know the song and have heard it a million times. You've heard it at sporting events, you've heard it anywhere, you've heard it in your dreams. But if you were there in 1981, I've talked about so many songs, you know, I say this all the time, like, oh, you couldn't avoid that song. Oh, no, you don't understand. You could not avoid Start Me Up. I'm telling you, it was... Oxygen was not as prevalent as Start Me Up. It was constantly everywhere. It was everywhere. Everything had that... Just that opening lick of the riff. I'm doing it in the wrong key. Everywhere, constantly. And anyway, so I'm babbling again, but so it made it so tough for me to rank this song because it's a really, really great track. I really like Start Me Up, but don't need it. I don't need it around anymore. It doesn't need to be around. You can bye. Okay? But I had to get real and go, you know what? Put away my prejudice against this. I have to put it number 2. It just felt a little weird to put any lower than that. Anyway, so now if I can get on with what I'm doing here, maybe I can choose between Around the Dial and Start Me Up. Well, I'm giving that to the Kinks. I am giving that to the Kinks. Now, you might think, oh, well, you're giving it to the Kinks because, you know, Start Me Up is played out. Maybe a little bit. But mostly, in the end, the reason why I give it to the Kinks is because I think Around the Dial is a better song. Now, I don't always choose a song, you know, one track over the other because I think the song is better. It's different from it's all different every time I do it, or from song to song even. Usually it's kind of a visceral thing for me, I think, usually, but with Around the Dial, they're pretty neck and neck if I really got really deep into it. But the reason why I decided to go that route and say, well, Around the Dial is a better song is because it's practically kind of a tie. And Start Me Up is a great track. But it's not really a great song. It really isn't. It's just really kind of an A and B section that kind of repeats over and over again. And what am I hearing? Is it raining? Oh, it's raining outside. I'm hearing stuff. It's raining. Okay. Babbling again. A lot of babbling in this video. Okay, well, anyway, I'm giving it to Around the Dial. I think it's a better song. Boom. Okay, so my number ones. My number one on the Kinks album, Destroyer. Destroyer, yeah. Paranoia, Deep Destroyer. Yeah. Man, I always loved this one. I mean, you know, when you're an 11, 12-year-old, you know, rock and roll kid, right? And, you know, you have, you know, your feathered hair, your bell-bottom corduroys, your comb in your back pocket. What's better than Destroyer? Paranoia, Deep Destroyer. I loved that song. My favorite song on this album then, my favorite song on this album now. And that goes up against what I have at number 1 on the Stones album, Waiting on a Friend. Yeah. Now that, I think, I've always liked this song. I liked it then. Even when I was the feathered hair kid with the comb in the back pocket. Yeah. Loved it. But it wasn't my favorite. I mean, you know, probably Start Me Up was probably my favorite at the time. Yeah, you know, that and Tops and Hang Fire. But yeah, it's easily my favorite now. And in fact, It wins. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Waiting on a Friend is my very favorite song out of all the songs from both these albums, with ease. Like, not even, there's no contest here. It's easily the best song on both these albums combined. All right. So yeah, that's an easy win for the Stones on that. And talk about an easy win for the Stones. The Stones got 7, and the Kinks only got 4. Yeah. And what I tell you, I told you, man, I love the Kinks way more. And I actually like the Kinks album more. I think I've always kind of liked it more. And once the dust has settled, I think that is the album that has held up the best. The Tattoo You was just absolutely so amazing back at the time, and it was always a really great Stones album. But when I go back to it now, I don't think it's as great as it seemed back then. It is a great album, but again, I like the Kinks album more. What are you gonna do? All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and for putting up with all my ramblings. Thank you for subscribing if you have, and if you haven't, maybe consider subscribing. If you do, click the little bell for notifications. But come back this Thursday, because Crystal Durant and Tommy Bon Void are going to be back here in the world famous As You Should Be Studios, and we are going to be ranking the Monkees singles. Yeah, we're going to be ranking all the Monkees singles, all the U.S. singles, from Last Train to Clarksville up to the stupid Christmas album they put out at the end there, and yeah, all that stuff. So come back for that. It'll be fun. It should be fun. Shout out to Ralph Vieira of the Almost Human channel. He's the one who started out doing the whole track versus track thing, and I totally stole the idea from him, and he was totally cool about me stealing the idea from him, and I salute him. And yeah, that is that. Hopefully I'll see you on Thursday.